Meet Kendra. She is a sellsword in a land of fantasy and adventure. If you enjoy sword and sorcery in the tradition of Dungeons and Dragons, then seek out Kendra the Sellsword #1. Now on Kickstarter.
Hello everyone, this is Ben Dunn, founder of Antarctica Press, a comic book company established in 1985. Also the creator of such comics as Warrior Nun, Ninja High School, Mighty Tiny, the Marvel Mangaverse, and my newest creation, Kendra, which is now on Kickstarter. So today is Monday, September 2nd, 2024. A little bit off by a couple of decades. And today's Labor Day. So I've been seeing a lot of posts about how great labor was, how it created the Labor Day by President Grover Cleveland, and how it was a celebration of the people who labor. Now, I have nothing against that. No. In fact, I applaud all the hardworking individuals who try to make a living, trying to stay above water, trying to make enough to continue to exist on this planet that we call the Earth. Now, what I do have like an issue is that somehow people think that labor, people who make the stuff or do or work for somebody else, somehow is, somehow has ownership over the stuff they create. And that to me could not be further from the truth. Somebody had to start a business, and they had an idea. They put their own sweat, tears, and toil, as well as their, as well as their treasure, into this idea in hopes that it will pay off. That it will somehow reward them. Because really, what's really the point of doing anything except to get some either personal or financial reward or both? Every creator of a comic book is his own boss. He is the one who made that thing. Now, he may hire other artists. He may hire the writers. He may hire letterers. He may hire colorists. But in the end, he's the one who takes the risk. The people who labor, they're not taking the risk. They're hired to do a specific job. They're paid according to what the owner thinks should be paid. Now, let me ask you something. Who is forcing anybody to work anywhere? The thing about it is that we have the ability of freedom of movement. We're not shackled like the slaves of ancient Europe, or even in our own recent history, slaves on, in the past. The thing about it is that we now have the ability to choose our own future and our own direction. To try to lay claim on something that you had nothing to do with, as far as the creation of it is concerned, as far as the, risk that was made, how can you claim to own any of that? It's like you come in and someone has made something and it's beautiful, and you come in and say, and added something like very minuscule and say, oh, that's mine. You can see how that doesn't play out very well. So, I appreciate people who work for a living. I work for a living. We all work for a living. The people who don't work for a living usually don't get compensated. We like to be fair. We're not inhuman. We like to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. But if they're of sound mind, sound body, and can work, and they choose not to, those I consider parasites of society. What's the good of them in contributing to the well-being of our society and our civilization if they're not doing something to enhance it? They're not doing something to bring about something positive, into our overall experiences. One of the things I love about comic book publishing, and comic book creators in general, is that every single thing that is created is owned by the person who created. That's why we have copyright laws. That's why we have trademarks. We understand that the labor that went into creating something new, original, unique, distinct, needs to be protected. But at the same time, we do it to share our ideas, our creations with other people, because we're in hopes that our creation will pay off both monetarily and spiritually. Very few comic creators I know, very few comic creators I've met, go into wanting to do a comic book simply because they want to do a comic book. Their whole agenda is that it will pay off in some fashion, that it will reward them, for the idea and the creation that they make. So how would it be that if, somehow something you created is being taken away by somebody who had no part in the creation? Now, the thing about comics is that we're a creative endeavor. Every single aspect of comic books is a creative endeavor, even down to the lettering, the coloring. Everything has to come from some idea. It's not like a fixed part where you just simply take something and put it in its place. Everything has to have some sort of creativity attached to it, and that takes talent. It takes vision. And it's difficult, when something you've created is taken away from you. Now, the thing about publishing, comic book publishing in the past, is that it was a very antagonistic relationship. Publishers would not pay creators unless they relinquish all rights to their creation. That was wholly unfair. But creators at the same time knew, in order to maintain a steady income, that was the way things were done. Now, there are a few exceptions. Some creators actually did go out of their way to make sure they owned the rights to their creation. There were few, and they were rare, but it happened. There has to be an understanding that when you enter into a contract with an employer, with something that you're expected to know, that you're supposed to produce a certain thing. In exchange, you're supposed to be compensated. It's up to you to decide whether the compensation is fair or not. If you don't have that understanding, then why in the world are you doing the work to begin with? You don't have to take on the work. When you apply for a job, do they immediately say, oh, by the way, you're going to have to, we expect this of you and they expect that of you, and if you don't do it, then, we're not going to pay you or you'll be fired. And you have the choice of saying, I don't like that work condition. I'm going to leave. I'm going to find someplace else. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have a choice. Oh, you have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You can make something of yourself. You can decide to chart your own destiny. You can take risks and chances like a lot of these business owners, there's a lot of comic creators take. Sometimes it doesn't always pay off. You're the one who takes that risk. But if at the same time you should benefit from that risk. You know what they say? Big risk, big returns. So, what am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is that, we are in a unique business where we are all business owners, or at least we should be. We are all creators. We chart our own destiny based on what we create. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it works just enough to keep you going. So you have to be satisfied where you are, in that hierarchy. So today we celebrate Labor Day. We are all laborers. We all work for a living. We do something to generate income in order for us to survive. We are, the occupants of a world where it's expected for us to create or produce something of value that will result in us obtaining, monetary compensation in order for us to continue to exist. Now, at least in this world. Now, you can, go out, live in the wild. You don't have to. A lot of people do. But as it stands for us in general, why should you not benefit from the fruits of your creation, from the fruits of your labor? The only entity that produces nothing and takes away things is the government. That's the only entity. Government produces nothing. Government relies strictly on the population, to produce things that it takes away in order for it to buy things, to spend things on things that it deems is for the public good. The problem is when corruption comes in, and the government is not living up to its responsibility, and it keeps taking and taking and taking without, any tangible return. Now, I'm not saying I'm anti-government. I pay my taxes just like anybody else. I don't. The thing about the government, between the government and the business, is you don't have to buy a business's services or goods. But if you don't pay taxes to the government, they have the ability and the power to arrest you, and to take away your livelihood. That's the big difference between the government and business. Business, you have a choice. In government, not so much. So anyway, I don't want to be a downer. I want you to understand that your labor is appreciated. Your labor should give you just compensation, if you feel like you've done work that deserves it. But in the end, you have to realize that you are hired to do a specific task. And it is the person who is taking the risk and who is the owner who is going to reap the lion's share of the profits. But it also is going to be the person who takes the risk, and can, and could become financially and, devastated, in which case you could just walk away. So anyway, I am trying to make a living. So I do have a Kickstarter on called Kendra, the Cell Sword, #1, first issue. It's a throwback to action adventure. It's fun action and adventure. A homage to the Dungeons and Dragons campaigns I used to play when I was younger. And the link will be below. Hope you'll like it. And until next time, this has been Dunn signing off.